So today I'd like to talk about anxiety. Anxiety is the body's threat detection system, preparing you for action. Absolutely, 100% can be debilitating, but it's not the enemy, it's a survival mechanism, and it needs direction, not avoidance.
There's been a lot of situations where I'm arriving to a scene for the first time. There's some nerves there, and that probably does keep me sharper and focused. It's kind of keeping you more focused on what you're there to do.
The overriding principle for me is just the repetition, because if you want to ensure you never get better at something, don't do it.
Thank you, welcome. It's really great to have you guys here. Just quick by way of introductions. Dan, welcome back. You've been on before.
Mate. Yep.
Do you want to introduce yourself?
Dan Quate. I live in Kauwerau, about an hour from here. Met Levi through the fire service, so I'm a firefighter over there. Been doing that for the last 7 years. And prior to that, early on in my life, I played rugby when I first left school. I was lucky enough to do that for a living for about 12 years, into my 30s. Then when I came back from overseas, got into business for a little while, but just before joining the fire service. So that's sort of my background.
Yeah. Awesome.
Happy to be here.
Yeah, it's so good to have you here, Dan. Appreciate it, mate.
Mate.
Yeah, looking forward to it. And then we got Dan Lusby.
Dan Lusby, yeah. Well, I've been Tauranga in real estate for about 30 years now. So before that I was in the building industry. So raised all our kids here, 6 kids between me and Sheree. We've got 9 grandkids, or 8.5 grandkids at the moment.
Awesome.
So,
That's
Awesome.
so cool.
Yeah, that's awesome.
yeah, so dealt with a lot of people over the years, always usually worked for myself. So a little bit of experience.
Yeah.
Yeah,
A little bit.
absolutely.
You were probably
Absolutely,
one of the wisest people I know in that area, so pretty stoked to have you here, Dano. It's really cool. Thank you for coming along. And then my brother Ethan.
Yep. So this is my second time on.
Yeah.
So I've obviously known Levi for a little while.
Yeah.
Just firefighter from Hamilton at the moment, been in fire service for a couple of years, and before that sort of just working around the place on the port, did a little bit there, working in that environment, driving and things like that, but I'm very happy to be here, and looking forward to the conversation ahead.
Yeah. Love it. Thanks guys so much for being here, guys. Last week actually we were talking about identity and like what things make you who you are and stuff. I was saying how it's much more than just what you do, and I think what I've noticed is everyone that's a grandparent in their introduction, it's like how many grandkids they have. I love that. It's become such a big part of who you are, so it's so cool.
Very true.
Yeah, same on my grandparents' side as well. It counts. They've got a little counter. So today I'd like to talk about anxiety. It's quite prominent and prevalent in our society today. It's kind of all around us. I don't think you can really go too far without bumping into someone or having an experience yourself. We'll go over some of that later, but I guess I want this conversation, I think when we talk about anxiety, it's quite easy to start talking about the disorder side of things, where it's anxiety is associated with, I guess, a lot of negative emotion. Whereas I think starting off the conversation, I like to introduce it as not necessarily all bad. It's so anxiety is the body's threat detection system. It's the nervous system preparing you for action. So it's the dose of adrenaline or the dose of whatever it is that excites your system and gets you ready, you anticipate. So some of the things, it enhances your awareness, improves reaction speed, and boosts focus under pressure. So sort of enhances everything. Absolutely 100% can be debilitating, and that's where the disorders come in. But I guess in the anxiety that a lot of us experience every day, it's not the enemy, it's a survival mechanism, and it needs direction, not avoidance. So I'd like to start just broadly, Matt, and we're talking about the experience on the panel today. We've got some pretty interesting people, so I'd really like to hear from your experience and learn from you. How has anxiety shown itself, or have you seen it around you in your guys' experience, preferably on the improving performance side, but just what's your initial experience of anxiety?
I think for me, being maybe fresh into the fire service is a great example. There's been a lot of situations where I'm arriving to a scene or to a job for the first time. It's the first time I've encountered that, and obviously there's some nerves there and you're a little bit anxious about it, but maybe looking from the brighter side, I feel like that probably does keep me sharper and focused. I feel like, I'm running through my head, what am I supposed to be doing, how's it supposed to look, how's it supposed to be working. So you're probably running better because of that anxiety there. It's kind of keeping you more focused on what you're there to do and how you've been trained to do it. So I suppose for me, I feel like that's a way that that anxiety has almost improved my performance in situations where you haven't been in before, you don't have that experience to draw from, and you're sort of just drawing from that training and watching those around you. I feel like that's kind of heightened my senses into knowing what to look for, or who to follow and stuff like that.
Yeah, that's definitely important, the planning and the training behind it. So
yeah.
In a situation, like I've had salespeople panicking about door knocking.
Sure.
It just scares the Jesus out of them. They don't want to go knock on somebody, a total stranger's door, and it's all about teaching them how to do it, planning and getting the training for them done.
Yeah.
And they eventually get over it. I don't know that they totally get over it,
sure,
but they can handle it. So away they go. But talking about anxiousness, and you talk about all the statistics, and that today's statistics, it was around 50 years ago.
Yeah.
This is nothing new, but it's just how people interpret it now is totally different, and that's a lot to do with how we've been taught over the years, education-wise.
True.
All these statistics are only 10% of what they are now, 20 or 30, 40 years ago. But people were still anxious, they just dealt with it. So the problem is, I think, is people make too much of a big deal about it. For me, that's what I think, because I just deal with it.
Going into that, what do you think are the big changes in perception across the last generation or so? How many?
Well, maybe pampering our kids. It's sort of, our kids were, I know I was brought up to be tough. If there was you didn't get special treatment or anything like that. And we sort of raised our kids the same. But then as each generation's gone down, it seems like the parents are getting softer and softer on their kids, and it's not making for a better society, unfortunately. It seems to be making for a worse one.
Totally.
I hear lots of kids say, I'm not going to do it the way my parents done it, but I sometimes think, well, maybe that was the best way.
Yeah, and you're right, they almost don't do it that way, and that's
On
maybe
purpose.
why it keeps getting worse and worse, because
No
going the
respect
wrong
now,
way.
and it's, there's lots of things that it's heading for.
Totally.
I feel like there's so much to unpack there.
I might rip into it.
Just go down.
I know it's your job, you want to do this for a living,
and that's like,
well, 20 or 30 years ago we never had psychiatrists and psychologists and all this stuff. So, because we just, maybe we didn't need them, but we didn't use them if they were around. So. Sorry.
No, I like
Yeah, exactly. Thanks, Levi.
Thanks for tuning in, guys. No, but that's what I want to hear from, because I think, particularly in university, amongst a lot of people who, obviously we're all there because we believe psychology has something to offer, but that runs out of steam pretty quick if your world views or whatever it is different, then maybe that what I might learn as I think is really helpful might not be really helpful for others, and particularly looking back, so that reflecting on what anxiety used to be and how it's changed till now, I think is really important. I want to hear about that. So when you say that stuff, it's not disqualifying what I want to hear or anything. That is what I want to learn from, is how, like, I think, this is probably a bit of a sidetrack. I think I'm a big believer in listening to what the previous generations have to offer, right? Like, I think that's probably being overlooked a little bit currently. So, I want to hear from you in that perspective of, I guess, how you've obviously had a lot of employees in your past. How has that looked? Your relationship with, like, when you got a new sales agent, and they are anxious about these things, in the modern world, with your experience, how do you prepare them to go out?
Well, it starts before you even employ them.
Yep.
It's all about the culture of your business.
Yep.
And I think doesn't matter whether it's firefighting, any group of people, it's all about having the right culture there. So if you can have the right culture, they will feel comfortable coming into it.
Yep.
And obviously it's all about everyone's part of the team, so it's no good just you trying to teach them, it's all about you trying to teach them and you, you know. So, and everybody contributes to that. And you'll find that anxiousness will just fade away when they see it's just normal behaviour.
Yeah.
Door knocking or ringing people or whatever it might be, it's just what you'll get used to doing. I'm sure running into a fire, if you do it enough times, you're not going to be anxious about it because you just know what's going to happen. So,
I like it.
That's a really cool takeaway. Is the environment, the culture setting. That's awesome. I like it. Dan?
I'm a bit like Dan on that too. Maybe it's also just the way, even just nervousness versus anxious. Back in the day, no one would talk about being anxious, but you'd acknowledge you were nervous.
Yeah,
I think
right.
like anxious, it's like that next step up, and now perhaps everything that we considered nervous is now considered anxious.
Yeah.
In that situation. I wouldn't say I was about anxious going before a rugby game or anything like that, but definitely nervous. But you wanted to be nervous because if you weren't, it would be strange if you weren't. You almost grew to look forward to the nerves because you knew what was happening. It was almost part of a process.
Cool.
It was every week, so it was easy to practice. And like you say, the more you do something, the easier it becomes. I guess that's almost is a generational thing, it was probably exactly the same, but just categorised differently.
Yeah.
Because it was just nervousness, it wasn't a big deal.
Yeah.
Now maybe nervousness is made into something bigger than possibly it needs to be. I don't know. Definitely there's cases, obviously, we're talking the extreme, but stuff that we've experienced, probably not the extreme.
That's right.
Myself, I haven't had any anxiety issues.
Yeah.
But that's not to say I haven't been nervous a bunch throughout my life.
Yeah.
But it's just sort of, you just deal with it because you have to, right? What's the alternative?
Yeah.
Not to do it. You're not. I mean, you can avoid it, but then you're not going to get anything done. If you avoid everything that makes you nervous, you might as well just shut yourself away.
Yeah. I like it. I'm just going to check the barbecue.
Oh, sorry,
I don't want to interrupt the
Ethan.
conversation.
That was supposed to be my job.
Yeah.
I've got
You're the host now, mate.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, Ethan, do some hosting.
Yeah, perfect. No, this sounded really good, you
You've
guys.
done a good job there, mate.
One job. That's interesting. I like that comparison of how it's actually maybe the language has changed over the years, between nervousness and anxiety. And it's right, anxiety definitely carries a lot more weight to it. So if you're feeling nervous all the time, it's probably not as bad as feeling anxious all the time. And then maybe that even has an impact on your mental state. If you're thinking,
like Dan was saying, nervousness and anxiety are just the same thing.
Yeah.
And everyone gets nervous before a game. You hear the All-Blacks saying the same thing. It was your first test or whatever. They're definitely nervous about it. So it's just we've changed the language and made put more things into it, if you like. So.
More weight on it. It becomes more of a problem than a process.
Because everything's dissected a lot more now, isn't it?
That's right. Do we really need to, though? That's the other question. So.
Yes.
Because it is just a state of mind, isn't it, at the end of the day?
Yep. exactly. And that's it. I'm sure this will probably come up maybe later. But trying to change that state of mind, hey, I think is the really big thing. Well, if you're finding that you are nervous in an unhealthy way, then how do you change that state of mind? I'm sure it's probably a question coming up, probably.
Oh,
cheers.
Look at you go.
Amazing host.
Yeah, I suppose it's how people handle it, what they do next. It's some people threaten to kill themselves, don't they? So it's like, that's the extreme, I suppose. But a lot of people just say, no, I'm not going to do it.
Yeah.
Give up, walk away.
Yeah.
But they're not growing doing that, are they? So.
Almost feeds in. We're the other week we were talking about resilience as well. Almost feeds into that too, doesn't it? If you're sort of anxious and maybe giving in to that anxiety instead of actually just sort of pushing through it and allowing it to sharpen your skills, or to actually looking forward to it. It's part of the process, and instead of accepting that, you end up having it sort of weigh you down instead of actually propel you forward.
This guy.
Yeah, I reckon he's pretty well set up, isn't he?
Yeah.
Well, I want you to come back.
Yeah. That's
what it is. I'm not above bribes to get people to come back.
Even giving bribes. Yeah.
Oh, I really like it. I like what we're talking about because I think it's spot on. Like what I think I've found in the studies is it's a change of perception. It's how you perceive. Like we're pretty much saying it's terminology. It's changed from nervousness, which can like nerves are a good thing in a pre-game, where we all view anxiousness as a debilitating thing. Where I think we'll talk about it later, but I think we're like spot on, really. Like it's the change of perception. It's like
and 100% I think anxiety is a thing, and there's people who 100%
absolutely
have anxiety.
Yeah,
but I think the majority, that's like the extreme level.
Yeah,
where a lot of that, the rest is just nervousness.
So let's talk about that. I'd like to go into that when anxiety goes into overdrive. So I think we got our terms out there, all the terms, nervousness, anxiety, excitement, muchness, just how you perceive them. So now we've got our terminology. When anxiety goes into overdrive and starts leaning into fear, fear is when anxiety goes past being useful and becomes like perceiving threats that aren't there and letting that affect your decision making and become unhelpful. So this is where the stats that referred to before, 1 in 4 New Zealanders will experience anxiety disorder. So that's when anxiety becomes unhelpful. There's different classes of anxiety disorders, like social anxiety. There's general anxiety disorder. That's what a bit of my studies was focused on. WHO says 3.1 million people globally have anxiety effects, and to what you were saying before, Dano, the stats are that anxiety in youth has doubled in the last 10 to 15 years. So I guess that's just like to put a bit of context to where we are today. Anxiety can go into overdrive and it can become debilitating. How have you seen anxiety tip over into fear? And I suppose in your experiences, how do you manage that?
Jeez, that's a tricky one, mate. I don't even know that I have.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
That probably means it's more exciting later in the conversation when it comes to coping. It's not
Yeah, I've had family members struggle with that, and that's what they've called it, is anxiety, so they can't get out of bed or they won't eat, and you just wreck your brain, see how you're going to help them, but you just can't help them, it's up to them. So really frustrating that you can't help them, but they get anxious about something. So,
Do you think that links to what you were saying before, as far as it's the culture you set beforehand? That's what you do to help your people. But then you're saying once they're in that moment, they're the ones that can help themselves.
they have to help themselves.
Yeah.
Yeah. All we can do is put tools, give them the tools, and hopefully that they use them right when the time comes. So.
Yeah. Yeah. That's
Potentially for some of that stuff, it might be like a one-off event, maybe.
Yeah.
It's completely out of their control, and it hasn't been this slow decline from nervousness to anxiety to,
Yeah.
in which case that's where professionals come in and all that sort of stuff. So I think
Yeah.
if I'd be on me to diagnose or offer
Yeah.
advice to.
Yeah. That's cool.
But I've got I can't think of like Dan, anybody that extreme, if you like.
Yeah.
So
You definitely come across nervous people, but I feel like there's just nervous people. Some people are more nervous than others. Maybe they haven't been. Maybe they haven't had the same experience, or like we were saying earlier, the more you do anything, the easier it becomes.
Yeah.
That's where sport, I think, especially for young people, is really great for the not for anxious, going back to nervousness, because it is so structured.
Yeah.
So it's every week. Every week you're going to have a little bit of nerves, and you're going to have to overcome them, and then you make those connections with. It's actually, I'm excited to play, because you're not nervous for something you don't want to do, or you wouldn't want to be doing it. So it's good nerves because you're about to do something you want to do.
Yeah.
And then maybe as the stakes get higher, the nerves are a little bit more, but it's the same thing, just on a larger scale. You still want to do it, and then you're relating the nerves with something that's, when you're about to do something worthwhile, you get this feeling, and then you start wanting that feeling.
yeah, definitely.
And then almost when you finish, like in terms of rugby, then you miss it, and then because it was so structured, and then all of a sudden you're like, oh, I'm not nervous anymore ever. Like, why? Well, not ever, but you know what I mean? Because it's programmed in. Like, it's easy. This week I've got a goal straight away. Next week I've got a goal straight away. Next week, and then all of a sudden you might be like, now I have to. It's harder to find a goal, or it's harder to find something to make me nervous, to make me feel like this is worthwhile doing. As an example, that could be like. But that's on the low end of nerves, right?
Sure, and that's where I'm happy for the discussion to be. Obviously, I'm not a professional. I'm not qualified to go speaking to the high end, the clinical cases. What I'm trying to do is draw from experience to learn about what these things look like in your real world experience. So, that's cool. I really like, that's interesting to hear that, like, I don't know, it's sounding like that nervousness is actually what you were looking forward to, because it's like on purpose in a way, or
definitely. Yep, and like we said, routine for process. Now process is the key word, but back then, I'm talking ages ago too, it just was what it was. It wasn't so much, but you'd wake up at the same time. You'd eat the same thing that day. I know I'm going to start getting nervous around this time, and it's all it's completely normalised because you do it all the time, and so you do look forward to it.
It's like those stats, I agree totally about kids playing sports. If you broke down the stats, see how many of those people actually played sports. I bet you'd find they wouldn't be high on the stats.
That's an interesting thought.
Break it down and see who these people are that have all these problems or anxiety. You'll find that sports people, especially with kids, it's great. So
just because you're in that culture of learning how to deal with nervousness and pressure.
And probably, like, if we treat it as a skill, it's probably outside of sport, maybe. I'm sure there's other ways, but it's quite hard to recreate, right? You can't just create a situation where I'm going to feel nervous. You know what I mean? Whereas a skill, you practice a skill, you just go out, you kick a ball or whatever. But it's hard to recreate that on the regular, I feel, outside of. I mean, I'm sure there's tons of other ways, but that's just super simple way that you are exposed to it regularly.
It's golden thoughts. I love it. My next point, I think we've already kind of gone into it, nervousness versus excitement, I think that's pretty much exactly what you're saying. So the science, biological sort of science is showing that, I mean, I guess first there's the physical science. Nervousness and excitement are the same thing. Increased adrenaline, fast heart rate, dilated pupils, all the physical sort of presentations are exactly the same. And I think the science is suggesting as well, chemically, very, very much the same. It's the difference between nervousness and excitement is perception. I think that's sort of one of the key takeaways, and the key sort of points that they make. So I guess we've probably already spoken about it, but I'll just ask it anyway, just in case it brings out anything new. Have you ever noticed similar feelings with both nervousness and excitement, and how do you know the difference?
I think, again, if we just use rugby as an example, a long time ago, and just on that, like last week, I think I was pretty dismissive of it. Like I didn't even really enjoy it, but I did love it. You know, it was 12 years of my life. I loved everything about it.
Yeah.
And everything that came with it, like the travel and really getting to do some cool things and bits and pieces. So talking about not enjoying it was maybe like you didn't have time to enjoy it before you were onto the next thing, but I definitely did. It was a cool time of my life. So with that, it just all blended into one. So it just felt like excitement. I think the nerves felt like excitement just out of that regularity. And then since then, I think just because you've learnt that, it's easier to trick yourself now, like, what's this feeling? And you can, if I'm feeling nervous, I can just trick myself that I'm excited.
Yeah,
you know, I don't know
that's
how.
awesome,
man. It's literally just like, no, you're excited. Okay, I'm excited.
Yeah.
And then that whole, like, it must mean something worthwhile is about to happen, or, you know, this is, whatever I'm about to do is worthwhile. So it's, I guess, it's just repetition, right? It's getting in reps and then...
Yeah, I think that reminds me of an example that I can think of in my life is probably when we're being trained at our National Training Centre, where there is tests that you need to pass, and coming into one of the BA tests where you're then crawling through everywhere, and it's dark, it's hot, there's a whole lot of pressure. I was definitely feeling nervous going into that, and it was probably getting more on that negative side, you know, it was sort of working negative in mind, and then it was like, actually, wait, this is actually really cool. Like, I'm here getting to train to be this job that I am dreaming of getting into, you know, and here I am getting to practice it in an environment that's safe, you know, and it's like, well, instead of actually thinking, the pressure of trying to pass and all of that, so he's like, well, let's just enjoy this. This is like a really cool opportunity, and it's like making that flip in my mind from it being a pass-fail type thing to actually just give it all you got and enjoy it, because you may as well make the most of it, even if this is going to be a fail and I'm not going to pass it. Well, I may as well enjoy failing, you know. I think
even just like the once-in-a-lifetime experience is there, right?
Yeah, totally.
Like, imagine if they opened a theme park where you would be able to go and do some of that stuff. There would be queues out the gate to do, you know, to be in flames rolling over you, like awesome stuff. Yeah. There'd be queues out the gate.
And that's sort of what I tell myself. I'm like, I actually want to be here. In fact, there's nowhere else I'd rather be. So why am I feeling so nervous about it? It's like, actually, no, I'm choosing to be here. I'm wanting to be here. It's not your instructor that's yelling at you, that's making you do this.
And that's like, probably the only part. Like, if you remove the instructor, you wouldn't be nervous at all.
Yeah, that's probably true.
And that's, like, in courses since then, the good mindset, you just like, well, because what you're doing, you'll be able to do fine, right? You're going to get through it every time, and it's just that, I'm being marked, I'm being observed, I've got to do everything absolutely perfect.
Trying to make it real, isn't he? Put the stress into it.
Exactly, giving you that pressure.
How are you going to handle it?
Yeah.
And also that, what's the worst that can happen to you? Like you said, you're not going to get hurt. They're not going to let you get hurt.
No. And that's
you always think worst case is generally not that bad anyway, isn't it?
No. And I think that's where anxiety really comes in, isn't it? It's just playing on that worst case, and you're sort of just locked into only seeing that instead of actually stopping for a second and going, actually, let's look at all the options here. It's not, it could go poorly, sure, but it's not the only way it can go, and looking at all the other possibilities of how it can go well. I mean, that really helps to pull you out of that space of nerves into excitement.
And if you are worried about something, it's very seldom that it's as bad as you thought, but in the process while you're doing it, you're generally like, what was I worried about? Right? But it's just in the lead up. If you do let your mind get away from you, it makes it out to be bigger than it actually is.
Yeah.
I suppose I get anxious talking to a big group of people. That gets me going. So, and like you say, you start doing it and you're fine. You think afterwards, shit, that was a piece of cake. But you know, I went and done a Toastmasters course, so I could do it. Because it really bothered me what industry I was in. Sometimes I had to speak to a lot of people, you know. So that's just getting prepared, training and planning, and I still get scared.
Yeah, sure.
But that's just maybe scared and anxiousness is the same. So
Yeah, I like that.
I think one thing that just stood out to me was like, you say that public speaking is one of those things for you, where in my mind, when it comes to public speaking, you've got to be up there with the best, you know. Like, in my mind, it's like, man, that's just, Dan is so cut out for it. When you speak, everyone just listens because you know you are great at it, and same with you. And like the moment, like I guess what we were just talking about with the firefighting stuff, and it's like it's those moments under pressure that I think you guys are so good at. So it's like those, I don't know, maybe that's a little bit of evidence of it's your brain going into overdrive and being high alert and actually being sharper in those moments, that anxiety.
Yeah.
That and the repetitions, I reckon.
That's
a lot better over the years.
Definitely. So
I think we're going to play a little game. Okay? So, Dan's already played. So I'm sorry, Dan, you're going to be victim again.
Again? That makes total sense.
So, Dan, the idea of this is just to take a bit of a break from the dialed-in thinking conversation and just have a bit of fun and a laugh. So what's going to happen is 5 unfortunate things, 5 worst-case scenarios are going to happen to our friend Dan here.
Oh, no.
He's going to rank them from 1 to 5, 1 being bad, 5 being the worst. And he's going to put his tiles upside down so we can't see how he's labelled them for himself. And then it's up to us we put our tiles down guessing what's his worst case scenario and what's his not so bad case scenario. It should make sense, hopefully, in a minute.
Once it's laid out and everything, it makes sense.
So Ethan's going to read out what's happened to Dan here and
these are,
give it another whirl.
These are our scenario cards. We've got shot in your pinky toe.
Okay.
Hiccups for a year.
Yes.
Have all of your toenails slowly removed.
Ooh.
No.
Get on a voodoo priest's bad side.
Okay.
Right.
Live through a pandemic. Been there, done that.
So 1 being the...
1 being bad, 5 being the worst.
The worst possible. Okay, so Dan's got his scores down. We happy?
Yep.
Right, team, what are we thinking? So I'm thinking live through a pandemic isn't that bad, right? Did we all just think of what we did? I feel like, I don't know. I feel like it's not as bad. I feel like hiccups for a year would actually be pretty nasty.
Get tiresome.
Right.
Would be
Yeah.
nice.
It would, yeah. Get on a voodoo priest's bad side. I don't feel like that's too bad because personally I don't think it's going to do anything.
Yeah, I think just
That's just my personal views.
What I believe in is like,
I was like, cool, there's someone out there who doesn't like me. There are other people out there that don't like me.
Well,
Epic.
I think next in line, in my opinion. Oh no, sorry. I think worst case scenario, that toenails one does my
It has
head.
to be, right? Isn't
would
that
be
an
the worst.
actual torture?
That would be the worst.
Right? I feel like it must be, because that is an actual form of torture,
shit,
right?
I went too early.
That's
sorry.
okay, we got it right. So I get what
yeah.
you meant. You're like, yeah, well, good on you. So that's fine. Live through. I still reckon this should be number 2.
Probably
I don't
number
think.
2. Yeah, I
it's
think
not.
you're right. Yeah.
Living
It's
through a
not like-
pandemic at 2.
It's not that bad. Shot in your pinky toe, or hiccups for a year. We're going for 3 and 4.
Well, you get over the shot in the toe. wouldn't you?
Yeah,
Yeah,
I feel like within a
me
month
too.
you'd be like,
Yeah.
oh yeah, okay.
So
Remember
we're going 3 for that and then 4 for hiccups for a year?
Yes.
Happy with that team?
Not bad.
Yeah? How'd we do?
It's 2,
Yeah.
Nice.
3.
Oh wow.
But these ones,
Ah.
Okay.
purely based on time frame.
Yeah, sure.
I think
sure.
this is going to be like,
Yep.
really sore, but it's over in a matter of
Yep.
hours, right?
Yep.
And I have incredibly violent hiccups. I will literally not be able to get anything done. My wife loves it when I've got the hiccups. So I'm like, in
Yeah.
bits.
But
That's pretty good.
That's a lot better than last time. I think we got 1 right last
Yeah,
week.
3 out of 5. I think that's
3 out of 5,
that's
and
good.
these are very close.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Contemplating.
Oh, well done.
good
Because
stuff.
we got Dano on with us this time.
Yeah.
He's better at this.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
good logic.
It is,
It's not gonna
yeah.
last long, the
Yeah.
pinky toe.
Yeah, very good logic.
I still, it still freaks me out though, getting my pinky toe shot.
Yeah. Well, is it supposed to be if you lose your pinky toe, you lose a lot of your stability? I think your pinky toe actually plays a massive
really
part in your
important,
balance.
yeah.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. Like as much so
The
as your
doctors
big
don't
toe.
like cutting any digit off. They just don't. If they can not do it, they won't do it.
Yeah.
So we
Kinda
must
glad
need
about
all of
that.
them.
Yeah, we must do. Yeah. We didn't come with spare parts.
No.
Needed them all.
Well, good stuff. Good stuff.
Yeah.
All right. It's basically what we've already spoken about. The question is, have you ever talked your body out of anxiety and into excitement? What are some real world times where you've seen that flip happen in either fire scene, sporting, daily life?
I feel like my last story was literally that.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I feel like almost that setting, NTC, which is where we go to do our courses and that, is you're far more nerve-wracking than anything real job related, right? Because the real job related, you just sort of like get about it, get it done, and you don't even think about it.
Yeah.
And that's probably why, maybe because you've got time to overthink leading in, like, oh yeah, and then you can get a little bit nervous. Doesn't mean you still can't turn those nerves into excitement, but I think it's having longer to. Maybe that's a thing.
Yeah,
Having, you know it's coming up in a few weeks' time, so you're like, oh heck, how's this going to go?
Is that also part of what you're used to as well? Because I find that on, actual jobs, it's about adapting, decision making, and problem solving. And that's like in the moment. And you get used to that kind of.
Yeah.
Whereas at training centre, it's kind of one way to do it. And you're like,
That's what I mean.
if I don't do it,
the
that-
assessor's not there, there'd be
That's
no
right.
nerves, right?
Yeah, and I find that when like medical's out wherever you want to do it, I'm fine with.
Yeah.
I walk into a hospital and I'm like, this place is so clinical, it freaks me out. Like my wife Hannah, she's worked in the hospital for a lot of years, and her stories and stuff. I'm like, I couldn't do that. I couldn't do a 10-hour shift in a hospital.
Yeah.
Give me pretty much the same thing out in a park, I'd be fine. But
Yeah.
But
it's what
reverse
you're
that,
used to,
she's
right?
probably the same, right? She's
Yeah.
probably, I'd hate to do, and I reckon that just goes back to, again, the more you do anything,
yeah,
it just normalises it. We like medicals is a great example. If we, heaven forbid, had to run into a CPR right now, it'd be terribly sad in the moment. Chances are we could walk back here and carry on with the show. That's not to say we don't care. We're not feeling terrible for those people, but we've learned how to switch on, switch off, type deal.
Yep.
And that may not be the case if that was the first time you've ever done it. Probably not. You're probably going to take the rest of the day, the rest of the week to
yeah.
be a little bit rattled. That's not showing you you're heartless. That's just
No.
like,
Yeah.
Yeah. Talking about nervousness and excitement, a couple of months ago I was at a seminar in Auckland there, and one of the guys that spoke was one of the cops that went into that building downtown where one of the workers was shooting all his colleagues, and happened a couple of years ago, and he was saying he was in Manukau City when it happened, because they got the call, the police defender squad to go right into Auckland City, and all the way there, because of the traffic, he was worried he was going to miss out
Wow.
on running into this building with this guy with a shotgun shooting people.
right.
Wow.
So he was excited.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
He wasn't nervous about getting shot, which he did. He
Wow.
got shot. His mate got shot next to him, shot his jaw off. They both survived, but there was others that died.
Wow.
Yeah. So he was more excited about going into this
Yeah.
Yeah.
than nervous. He turned it around. I think he just turned it around, and
Wow.
and they got there in time.
Yeah.
They got the guy in the end. They shot him. lift well, but after he shot a whole lot of people, killed people, and shot these 2 cops. So
It's a really interesting distinction. I think I can I think I can relate to that. Where like, when I was starting out in firefighting, because I was a volunteer here in town, and Dad being an ex-cop, talked to him about all of that stuff, and at that point I'd never seen like a graphic or fatal scene, and I was like, how do I know I'll be okay? And like talking with my dad about it got me into a frame, we sort of managed to frame it as like, don't be nervous, be like, I guess it's excited in a way, because it's in those moments where you, I guess my frame of mind was, when I do it, then like, I'll know I'm actually cut out for this job, I can continue doing it. And I guess I had that, probably had that early in my career when I was on the career trucks. I took leave for my 2 nights or something. I had something back home, so I went home, and I found out that my crew, the shift I was supposed to be working, they'd gone to this really hard job. And I remember being disappointed because I wasn't there with my team. I was excited about going to those jobs with my team rather than nervous about, I don't know if I'll handle it. I wanted to be there with my team. And this that frame of mind, right, that perception. So let's talk about some practical tools. I guess one on the top of my mind, one that I've heard a lot about, I'm sure you probably will come across, that model of stimulus and reaction, and then the gap in the middle, creating that gap of choice. So have you heard? Okay. So the model is that I guess it's demonstrated using like a crocodile. You know how like a crocodile has, it's like snout will be sitting out of the water, and we used to live in Australia and right down the road from Australia Zoo. So they'd do this demonstration. It was seriously cool. The croc was like sitting with its snout out of the water, and the presenter would get down there and he's like, watch, like, if I slap it, he's got this big chunk of raw chicken the crocodile wants to eat, and he's like hitting it around, and the croc's not responding, reacting at all, and he's like dangling it like real close to the croc's not moving. He's like, then watch this, as soon as I get the chicken into this space, it'll snap. And then he smacks the chicken right, like just next to the snout, and the croc, without making a choice, it was like instinctive reaction, bam, straight on, like split second, and just destroys this bit of chicken. And I guess that's how a lot of us, like, your brain sort of automatically glows. That's a demonstration of how our brain goes to reaction rather than response. So the tool is then being able to separate the stimulus from the reaction, and in the middle we create a gap that's called choice, and we can choose to respond. So when, like, I think the example I've heard is like getting cut off in traffic. Your reaction might be to jump on the horn and give them a lot of hand gestures to let them know what you think. Whereas if you've practiced that tool of creating space, the stimulus is getting cut off in traffic, and you take a moment and choose to respond by just increasing your following distance again, carrying on, because it's not going to affect your day. So that's a tool that I think like is quite applicable to the anxiety things, where we feel ourselves going into like anxiety being less helpful, clicking into fear or whatever it is, being able to take that moment, take a breath, and be like, what am I going to choose to do with this? I don't know, that's one tool. What kind of practical tools or moments, in your opinion, would be effective in the real world in application with what we've spoken about?
I think for me, it's instead of thinking, when I find myself thinking of everything that can go wrong, and I sort of start feeling those nerves and it's sort of pulling me down, I sort of, instead of thinking of what can go wrong, I start thinking, oh, well, what can go right? You know, instead of looking at the object you don't want to hit, you look at where's the open field, you know, what can go right here, and that automatically sort of brings me back into line. It's sort of like, oh, well, these are all the things that could go well, so why am I nervous about these couple of things that could go poorly? It's like, well, actually, let's just not look on the negative side. Let's actually look at what the positives are going to be, whatever it is, you know.
And that's really important, looking on the positive side. You hear about the sports people talking about visualising how a putt's going to go, or how a kick for conversion is going to go. You know, they've already decided how it's going to work. So it's really important to think the right thing. You know, you can drive out in the traffic, like you say, and have a road rage incident almost within 5 minutes.
Yep.
You know, and it's just how you handle it and your frame of mind you're in. That's really important. But if you're positive all the time, you'll find that they're not a problem, those people pulling in front of you. You know, and it's just the train of thought that you've got to try and get yourself into it. And if people are positive about things all the time, you'll find they're not anxious. They're more nervous, they're more excited.
Yeah.
They're not gonna, it's not going to be a problem, whatever's going to happen to them.
I wanted to ask you, Dan. You know, I'm a young person looking for a house, right? Which is not an uncommon position in today's economy, and that can be.
Go for it.
That can be quite like intimidating, and a lot of real estate agents, I feel, can manipulate that anxiety. I don't know. This is my perception of you know, like they can create this pressure, they can create this fear of missing out, and they like feed off it, right? And this might seem like a bit of a dog leg, but or in conversation, but I want to explore it because this is the sort of idea of bringing this stuff into the real world. In your experience in real estate, how does anxiety and I guess those fears and stuff play out, and what would your advice be for a young person like me attempting to be in the housing market, not actually really having a chance? Like, you know, what's your advice for young people in that pressure environment?
Well, salespeople are trained to make buyers, well, not so much anxious, but the fear of missing out. Same as we do the same for vendors.
Yeah.
You know, a vendor selling a house because he wants to travel the world or buy a camper home or whatever. And when we get an offer, we always remind them of why they're selling. You know, we say, shit, you could be on the road next couple of weeks' time. Consider this offer seriously. And it's the same for a buyer. That you're planning for years and years in advance, you know, for your family to live in this house for a long time. So it's really important that you've just got to do all your planning before you get to that position. You know how much deposit you need, you know how much you need to earn, you know a lot of things already. So there's no reason why you aren't able to buy a house. You know, you might not be able to buy it in Rewa, you might have to buy it in Otara.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
So your expectations might have to change.
Yeah. That's a big one, eh? Yep.
Yeah. So unfortunately, when I was selling, a lot of first-home buyers wanted a 4-bedroom, 2-bathroom, double garage, brick and tile. You know, and they could only afford a 2-bedroom, 1-bathroom, single garage. And if they'd gone and bought that then, they would have been set up. You know, it's getting into the market is the hard job. Once you're in there, it's easy because you can upgrade pretty quickly.
Yeah. Okay. So, as far as dealing with the anxiety of being in the housing market, the path through that is having a plan and clearly knowing what you're working for and towards. Yeah. You've got to try and see what the future's going to hold for you. You know, how are you going to, if you bought this house, where would I be in 5 years' time? You know, would I be happy there? But really it comes down to a compromise. Sometimes you're not going to get exactly what you want. Nobody does. You know, even if you spend $2 million on a house, you'll find people will say, "Oh, I wish it
there was this or whatever it might be, you know. So really, you've just got to make a compromise. Just, you know what your budget is. Know what your budget is, and just stick with it. So, and a lot of people get in trouble for going over their budget, and then that puts more anxiety on them because they can't afford it. You know? They've overpaid for something. So you've just got to just plan it well in advance. You know, and do your numbers.
And then when you're dealing with that agent, like that's what I like about you. Like worked with you a couple of times when we've been looking at different houses and whatnot, as you care way more for the person than you do. That I like. It doesn't feel like you're dealing with a business or real estate person when I'm dealing with you. It feels like you care more for the person than the business, and I like that. So when I am dealing with an agent that is feeding off that FOMO, they're trying to make you feel like you're about to miss out on something big, just focusing on your plan.
Do that, Yep, definitely.
I like it. Awesome.
And just tell them you need to talk to me.
For a price.
Then I'm going to sort it out.
Cheap. He's got you well fooled, mate.
I love it. Like, that's really. I
There
think
probably is quite a lot of psychology in sales, though. Eh?
Yeah, there is. Definitely.
Yeah, it's playing on people's emotions and.
Because we're just selling. We don't own the place. We're just selling hard bit of real estate, really. So, and it's all about why you're selling or why you're buying. That's the two reasons. So, and everyone has a reason why they want to buy. And everyone has reasons why they want to sell. Could be because it's a leaky house and they're trying to sell it to you. You know. That's why you do have to be careful. So.
Very true.
so interested to hear more from that. We'll have to tee up another time for sure.
Round two.
We can just go an entire episode on sales. Dan's the only one on the panel. Just I'll just sit back and watch. I've really enjoyed this. It's been awesome. I think my key takeaways. I love the bit about building a culture where that anxiety almost doesn't have a place. It's a culture that teaches, like Dan was talking about with his rugby team, of being able to be like, it becomes normalized, and that pressure is, the culture in your group, in the people around you, is that's excitement, and that's, it's worthwhile. I love Dan kept saying, what I'm about to do is worthwhile. Like, that's what that feeling means. That's awesome. So when it comes to the perception and the terms almost don't matter, whether it's nervousness, anxiety, alertness, or heightened this or whatever. It's being able to tell yourself this is worthwhile, and then building familiarity, confidence with doing it, and again just gets you more and more comfortable. Looking on the positive side, and building that positive culture, to be able to choose and view things positively. I love it. I think there's some awesome takeaways for me. And wrapping up, in conclusion, is there anything else you guys would like to say? Like any other stories you could?
No, I just feel like the whatever story we tell, the overriding principle for me is just the repetition.
Love it.
It's the only way you get better at anything.
Yeah.
So just like finding things that perhaps make you nervous and going for it.
Yeah.
Because if you want to ensure you never get better at something, don't do it.
Yeah.
There's a short way to make sure you're not going to improve if you avoid it.
Yeah.
And I think having a positive attitude all the time is really important.
Yeah. That's so cool, guys. I really appreciate your time. I feel like I've learnt heaps. I hope you guys have enjoyed it. And that's us.
It's been awesome to glean from your wisdom and experience. It's been really cool.
For real.
Great stories.
Cool.
Yeah.
Thank you kindly, folks.
Yeah.
Well done, fellas.
That's the
Thanks, Barry.
official part done.
Nice.
Nice.